Hello and welcome to another episode of AI 10X, brought to you by 10 Leaves. Today we're going deep on something really fascinating.
Okay.
It's being called the gene revolution.
Wow.
Basically, a huge shift in how we think about and treat disease.
I've heard that term, but
Yes.
I'm not really up on it.
It's all because of incredible leaps in two areas,
Okay.
gene editing and personalized medicine.
Got it.
So think of this as your crash course.
Okay.
We're going to break it down, make it easy to understand so you can really get a grasp on these technologies that are literally changing the world.
Yeah, it feels like we're like right there
Absolutely.
on the edge of something really new in biology and medicine. Like
Yeah.
discoveries are just popping up so fast.
Absolutely.
It's kind of hard to keep up.
But that's why we're here.
Right.
For you, the listener. We're zeroing in on two key things.
Okay.
Gene editing, specifically this revolutionary CRISPR technology.
Right.
And then personalized medicine, where treatments are becoming as unique as we are. Our mission, after you listen to this, you'll understand the core concepts, the exciting possibilities, and also, the really crucial considerations that come with these fields.
So let's get right into it.
That's good.
Gene editing, that's what everyone's talking about.
Right.
And CRISPR seems to be the star of the show.
Absolutely.
So what is it about CRISPR that makes it so special?
Okay, let's break it down. Starting with the name.
Yeah, right.
CRISPR.
Yeah.
It's actually an acronym.
I did not know that.
It stands for Clustered Regularly Interspaced Short Palindromic Repeats.
Ah, that explains it.
It's a mouthful.
Yeah.
But the real question is, what does it actually do? What is it about this thing that is making everyone so excited?
So picture this.
Okay.
You have a find and replace function,
Yeah,
but for DNA.
Okay.
That's basically what CRISPR is.
Really?
This system that lets us target super specific sequences in our DNA,
Wow.
and then we can edit them, cut them, delete them, even insert new genetic information.
So it's like a genetic word processor.
Precisely.
Wow. So is this a big step up from what we had before?
Oh, absolutely.
What was the big aha moment with CRISPR?
So the older ways to edit genes were kind of clunky, not that efficient, and sometimes they miss the mark.
Right.
CRISPR is so much simpler,
Uh-huh.
way more efficient, incredibly versatile.
Wow.
The game changer was when scientists figured out how to adapt this, because it's actually a natural bacterial defense system.
Oh, interesting.
And they realized they could use this in the lab
Wow.
and make it this really precise and easy-to-use tool. And it really democratized gene editing, put it in the hands of way more researchers.
So we've got this incredible tool.
Yeah.
What can we actually do with it?
Well, the possibilities are kind of endless.
I bet.
But in medicine, the biggest thing is that we could correct the root causes of genetic diseases.
Oh, wow.
You think about things like cystic fibrosis,
Right.
sickle cell anemia, Huntington's disease. CRISPR could actually fix the genes that cause these conditions.
That's incredible.
Instead of just managing the symptoms, we can go right to the source.
Yeah, like fixing the problem, not just putting a Band-Aid on it.
Exactly. And it's not just about inherited diseases.
Oh.
There's a lot of excitement about using CRISPR to engineer immune cells
Uh-huh.
and makes them way better at finding and destroying cancer cells.
Really?
So imagine you could reprogram your immune system to actually fight off cancer.
Wow, that's amazing. And for someone listening who might have a loved one battling cancer right now, that's got to be a really powerful idea.
Right.
What about outside human health?
Yeah.
Are there other applications for this?
So in agriculture, CRISPR could be huge.
Right.
We could engineer crops to be tougher,
Really?
resistant to pests and diseases,
Right.
even help them handle the effects of climate change.
Interesting.
So it could mean more food for a growing population.
So from fixing genetic diseases to making sure we can feed everyone,
Yeah,
that's pretty amazing.
it is.
But with this kind of power, messing with our DNA, there's got to be some ethical stuff we need to talk about, right?
Absolutely. When you have the ability to change the very blueprint of life, you have to be really careful
Yeah.
and think about the ethics of everything you're doing.
So what are some of the big concerns when we're
Yeah.
talking about having this power?
Well, one big one is the idea of designer babies.
Oh, right. I've heard about that.
The worry is that we might use this technology not just to prevent disease, but to choose traits we want, like higher intelligence
Yeah.
or athletic ability.
Right.
And that could lead to even more inequality in society. It really makes you think, what kind of future are we creating?
It's like a whole new level of what we value and what a fair future even looks like.
Exactly.
It's pretty crazy to think about.
Yeah. And then there's the question of off-target effects.
What does that mean?
CRISPR is really precise, but there's always a chance we might make accidental edits in other parts of the DNA.
Oh.
We don't really know the long-term effects of those changes yet.
So it's kind of like, I don't know, editing a document and you're trying to change one word, but you accidentally delete a whole paragraph somewhere else.
Exactly.
You don't know what you're messing up.
We really need to make sure we're not creating unintended problems.
Right.
And then there's the question of access.
Oh, right.
These technologies could be incredibly expensive.
Yeah.
So how do we make sure everyone who needs them can get them, not just the wealthy?
That's such a good point. It's like, are we going to have this whole new level of disparity based on whether you can afford this gene editing or not?
That's exactly the concern. We don't want to create a genetic divide.
So with all these questions and stuff, how are scientists and ethicists and policymakers, how are they handling all this?
There are a lot of important conversations happening all over the world right now.
I bet.
International groups are working on guidelines for how to use gene editing responsibly.
Okay.
And it's really important to get the public involved.
Oh, right.
Make sure these technologies are developed in a way that reflects what society wants.
Right.
And ultimately, we need strong rules and regulations
Yeah.
on a global scale to guide how this is all used.
Sounds like a really tricky balance.
It is.
Pushing science forward, but also being really careful.
Yeah.
Okay, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about personalized medicine.
All
We
right.
hear about this a lot.
We do?
But what does it really mean? What does it mean for our healthcare?
Basically, personalized medicine is about moving away from this one-size-fits-all approach to treating people.
Right.
Instead, we're trying to tailor treatments
Right.
and even prevention strategies to each person's unique needs.
It makes sense.
And their genes play a huge role in that.
Okay, so it's about understanding what makes each of us biologically different
Yeah.
and then using that information to make smarter, more targeted medical decisions.
Exactly. By looking at someone's DNA and other factors, we can learn a lot
Okay.
about their risk for certain diseases, how they'll respond to certain medications,
Right.
even their chance of having bad side effects.
it.
So the goal is to maximize how well treatments work
Uh-huh.
and minimize the bad stuff.
Minimize the bad.
It's a much more precise way of doing healthcare.
Do you have a real-world example of how this is actually helping people right now?
Yeah, one really great example is in cancer treatment.
Okay.
We can now analyze the specific mutations
Uh-huh.
in a patient's tumor.
Okay.
These mutations often drive the growth and spread of the cancer.
Right.
But if we can pinpoint these specific mutations, doctors can choose targeted therapies,
Got it.
drugs that are designed to block the activity of those mutated proteins.
So instead of like using chemo,
Yeah,
which affects all the cells,
right.
you're going right for the cause of the cancer in that individual.
Exactly. One famous example is Herceptin. It's a drug used for certain types of breast cancer. It targets a protein called HER2,
Got it.
which is overexpressed in some breast tumors.
Okay.
So genetic testing can tell us if a patient's tumor has too much HER2, and that means Herceptin might be a good treatment for them.
So you're really customizing the treatment
Yeah,
based on their specific genes.
exactly.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So how does gene therapy fit into all of this?
Well, you can think of gene therapy as a really targeted and often personalized way to tackle disease at the genetic level.
Okay.
It's about putting genetic material into a patient's cells to correct a defect or help fight a disease.
So you're not just targeting a bad protein, you're actually trying to fix or replace the gene itself.
Yeah, that's the idea. For genetic disorders, like cystic fibrosis or muscular dystrophy, gene therapy can deliver working copies of the missing or damaged gene.
Wow.
And that could lead to long-term benefits,
Yeah.
maybe even a cure.
And isn't this being used in cancer treatment too?
Yes. One of the most exciting areas is personalized cancer immunotherapy.
Okay.
They take the patient's own immune cells, often T cells,
Uh-huh.
engineer them in the lab to recognize and attack the patient's specific cancer cells,
Oh.
and then they put these supercharged immune cells back into the patient.
So it's like giving their own immune system a boost
Exactly.
to specifically fight their cancer. That's amazing.
And it's shown some incredible results.
I remember you mentioned some challenges with gene therapy, though.
Right.
What are the big ones we still need to solve?
One of the biggest is delivery.
Okay.
How do we get the good genes to the right cells in the bio
Right.
safely and efficiently?
Yeah?
We often use modified viruses, called viral vectors,
Okay.
to deliver these genes.
Got it.
But there are risks,
Yeah.
like triggering an immune response.
Right.
So we need to find better ways to deliver these genes.
I'll make sure that the delivery system itself isn't causing more harm.
Exactly. And then there's the cost. Right. Gene therapy, research and development and manufacturing, it's all really expensive.
Yeah.
And that makes it hard for a lot of patients to get access.
It seems like the cost thing keeps coming up.
It does.
Like we can understand our genes more easily,
Right.
but actually turning that knowledge into treatments that people can afford,
Yeah,
that's still a big problem.
it is.
So looking forward, what are some of the most exciting things on the horizon for gene editing and personalized medicine?
Well, in gene editing, one really promising area is CRISPR-based diagnostics.
Okay.
Imagine tests that can quickly and accurately detect specific genetic mutations that cause diseases
Right.
or identify infections.
Okay.
This could totally change how we diagnose and treat illnesses.
Wow.
And we might be able to catch things much earlier.
So early intervention, basically.
Exactly. We're also seeing big strides in using CRISPR to create new and better cancer immunotherapies.
Uh-huh.
And they're using it to fix genetic mutations in stem cells.
Just
This is really exciting because it could lead to cures that address the root cause of diseases.
That's the dream, right? A cure, not just managing the symptoms.
Exactly. And in personalized medicine, AI and machine learning are making huge waves.
Okay.
These technologies can analyze massive amounts of genetic and clinical data,
Right.
find patterns, and help us develop even more precise, personalized treatment plans.
So AI is helping us make sense of all this complicated genetic info
Yeah,
to figure out the best treatment for each person.
exactly. And the cost of sequencing a person's entire genome is dropping rapidly.
That's great.
As that gets cheaper and easier, we're going to find more and more genetic markers linked to diseases.
Okay.
And that'll fuel even more personalized treatments and ways to prevent disease.
It's amazing how much cheaper sequencing has become.
It is.
But we still have that problem of the high cost of the gene therapies themselves.
Right. We need to find a way to make these breakthroughs available to everyone.
Absolutely. This has been a fascinating look into the gene revolution.
It has.
It's clear that gene editing and personalized medicine are changing how we understand and treat disease.
They really are.
And it sounds like we're just getting started.
Yeah, we're just scratching the surface.
So what's next?
We need to keep researching.
Right.
Focus on safety and effectiveness and address the ethical questions.
Absolutely.
And we need to make sure everyone can benefit from these advancements.
And we all need to understand this stuff.
Yeah.
So we can make informed decisions about it.
Right.
This has been a lot to think about. It's really incredible what's happening with gene editing and personalized medicine.
It is.
It really makes you think about the future.
It does.
Like, what kind of world are we creating?
Yeah.
We have this incredible power to control our own biology,
Right.
but we have to use it responsibly.
Well, that's all the time we have for this deep dive, but it definitely leaves us with a lot to ponder, especially, the bigger picture, how this all impacts society, and finding that balance between what's good for individuals and what's good for all of us. Stay tuned for more insights on AI, This AI 10X, a podcast series brought to you by 10 Leads.